My name is Isabella Chen, and I need to tell you this story before it's too late, before he finds out that I know, before the scratching stops. It started 3 months ago, the night after I moved into 47 Maple Street. You know that feeling when you're almost asleep, hovering in that space between consciousness and dreams? That's when I first heard it, a soft, rhythmic scratching coming from inside my bedroom wall. At first, I thought it was mice. God, I wish it had been mice. The scratching would start around 2 a.m., always the same wall, the one my bed was pushed against. Scratch, scratch, pause. Scratch, scratch, pause. Like something was trying to get out, or worse, trying to get in. I'd lie there in the darkness, my heart pounding, telling myself it was nothing, just an old house settling, just my imagination running wild in a new place. But deep down, I knew something was wrong with this house. Something was very, very wrong. And the worst part? My neighbor, the one who had been so helpful on moving day, would ask me every single morning, "How did you sleep, Isabella?" His smile never quite reached his eyes.
Let me back up. Tell you how this all began. Moving day was brutal. August heat, broken air conditioning in the U-Haul, and me, all 5'3" of me, trying to carry a couch up the front steps. I was drenched in sweat, mascara running down my face, seriously questioning every life choice that led me to this moment. That's when he appeared. Need a hand? His voice was friendly, warm even. He was maybe 45, fit, wearing a faded college t-shirt and jeans. Normal. Completely, utterly normal. "I'm Daniel," he said, already grabbing the other end of my couch. "I live next door, the blue house." I could have cried with relief. Isabella, and yes, please, I absolutely need help. For the next 4 hours, Daniel was a godsend. He carried boxes, helped assemble furniture, even brought over cold lemonade. He knew where the best pizza place was, which streets to avoid during rush hour, where the reliable mechanic was located. "You're going to love this neighborhood," he told me, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Everyone looks out for each other here. Real community feel, you know?" I thanked him profusely, even gave him a $20 bill for the pizza he'd ordered us, though he tried to refuse it. "Neighbors help neighbors," he said, that smile appearing again. "You ever need anything? I'm right next door." As he left, he paused at my front door, looking back at my bedroom window, just for a moment. Then he was gone. I didn't think anything of it then. I should have. That first night, I was too exhausted to notice anything strange. But the second night, that's when it started. 2:17 a.m. I woke to the sound. Scratch, scratch, pause. My eyes snapped open in the darkness. I lay perfectly still, listening. The sound came again, definitely from inside the wall behind my headboard. It was deliberate, methodical, not the random scurrying of an animal. This was purposeful. I turned on my bedside lamp, and the scratching immediately stopped. Silence. Complete and total silence. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing. I turned off the light. Within 30 seconds, it started again. My skin crawled. I grabbed my phone, Googling "scratching in walls," and finding exactly what I expected. Articles about mice, rats, squirrels in the attic. I'd call an exterminator in the morning. By morning, I had slept maybe 2 hours total. I looked like death. That's when I saw Daniel in his front yard, watering his roses. He waved, walking over to the property line. "How did you sleep, Isabella?" he asked, shears in hand. "First nights in a new place can be rough." "Actually," I said, trying to smile, "I kept hearing scratching in my bedroom wall. I think I might have mice or something." His expression didn't change, didn't even flicker. "Oh? Which wall?" "The one facing your house, actually." He nodded slowly. "Old houses. Could be anything. Want me to take a look?" Something in my gut twisted. No, I'll call someone, but thanks." "Suit yourself," he said, returning to his roses. "But the offer stands, anytime." I went back inside, feeling his eyes on me the whole way. I called an exterminator that morning. Patricia from Bradley Pest Control arrived that afternoon.
efficient and professional. When she examined my bedroom wall, she spent extra time on it, using her detector along the baseboard. "This is strange," she said. "I'm not picking up any signs of animal activity. No droppings, no gnaw marks, no holes. But there's definitely a hollow space here, bigger than normal for a wall cavity." My stomach dropped. What does that mean? Could be an old coal chute, or maybe just how they built houses back then. I started keeping a log every night, documenting when the scratching started, how long it lasted, any patterns. Night 3 starts at 2:17 a.m., stops when light turns on, resumes in darkness, continues until 4:30 a.m. Night 4, same pattern. The scratching moves, starting at the bottom, slowly working upward. Night 5, no scratching, complete silence. I felt disturbed by the absence rather than relieved. Night 6, scratching returns, more frantic, like someone's in a hurry. Every morning, Daniel was outside, always had a reason, and always the same question. "How did you sleep, Isabella?" One morning, after a particularly bad night, I snapped. "Actually, Daniel, I slept terribly. That scratching is driving me insane." He looked at me with genuine concern. "Old houses make noise. Maybe you're just sensitive to it. My ex-wife was like that. She'd hear every little sound." He smiled. "Maybe try white noise. Might help you adjust." It was reasonable advice, so why did my skin crawl when he said it? I bought a white noise machine that day, top-of-the-line model. That night, I set it up, feeling hopeful. 2:17 a.m. I woke up. The machine was still running, but underneath it, crystal clear, I heard the scratching, louder than the machine. And beneath the scratching, something else, something rhythmic. Breathing. Someone was breathing inside my wall. At 7 a.m., I called a contractor. Samuel Rodriguez could come that morning. I explained about the scratching, about the hollow space. He studied the wall, using his detector. "Yeah, there's definitely space back here, more than there should be." He looked at me. "You want me to open it up?" "Yes, please." Samuel took his hammer and smashed a hole in the plaster. Chunks of wall crumbled away, revealing the hollow cavity behind. He peered inside with his flashlight. His expression changed instantly. "What the hell? What? What is it?" He stepped back, face pale. "You need to call the police, right now." My heart stopped. "Why? What's in there?" "Photos," he said quietly. "Hundreds of them. All of you." I pushed past him and looked. The beam illuminated the cavity. Photographs. Dozens, no, hundreds of Polaroids, arranged in neat rows. All of me. Me sleeping. Different angles, different nights. My mouth open, my hair spread across the pillow, my arm hanging off the bed. In every single photo, I was completely unconscious. And in the corner of each one, written in careful handwriting, "Sweet dreams, Isabella. Dr. Daniel Robertson, my helpful neighbor." My legs gave out. Daniel had been in my house, in my bedroom, while I slept, multiple times. But the photos only showed the first 2 weeks. That meant he'd stopped taking pictures 2 weeks ago. Why? What was he doing instead? 2 officers arrived within 15 minutes. Officer Chen and Officer Martinez. They were professional and clearly disturbed. "We need to remove the rest of this wall," Martinez said. Samuel went to work. More photos emerged. And then something worse. A small hole, about the size of a dime, drilled through from the other side. "He was watching you," Officer Chen said softly. "Through this hole. He didn't need photos anymore. He could watch live." I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, Martinez was already next door. Through my window, I watched as Daniel opened his door, confusion turning to alarm when Martinez showed him a badge. "Miss Chen," Officer Chen said gently, "is there somewhere else you can stay tonight?" I shook my head. "They're all back in Ohio. I just moved here. I don't know anyone." "We're going to arrest Mr. Robertson, but he'll likely make bail by tomorrow." Through the window, I watched as Daniel was let out in handcuffs. He looked directly at my bedroom window. Our eyes met. He smiled. The same smile from moving day. "I'll find a hotel," I whispered. I stayed at a Holiday Inn that night. The next morning, Officer Chen called. "We executed a search warrant. You need to come to the station."
There's something you need to see. At the police station, they showed me a laptop, notebooks, and storage devices. We found over 3,000 photos of you, Officer Chen said, dating back to the week before you moved in. He was watching the house, waiting. She opened a notebook. Inside were pages of notes about me, my schedule, where I worked, what time I left, what I ate, what shows I watched. He was building a complete profile, Martina said. And it gets worse. We found evidence he'd done this before. Chen pulled out more notebooks, similar documentation about at least 4 other women, all previous residents of your house. Jennifer Adams, 2018, 6 months before fleeing. Rachel Kim, 2016, 8 months. Sarah Williams, 2014, a full year. Her cat disappeared. They found it dead in Daniel's crawl space 3 years later. He's been doing this for a decade, Officer Chen told me, waiting for women to move in alone, then systematically terrorizing them. You're the first who actually found the photos. What about before 2014? Chen's expression darkened. We're looking into his history. There are some gaps that suggest this might be more serious than stalking. That night, I got a text from an unknown number. The new locks won't keep me out, Isabella. They never do. Sleep well.
He's violating the restraining order, I told Officer Chen. Forward me the message. We'll trace it. The number was a burner phone. No way to prove it was Daniel. His ankle monitor showed he never left his house. So he can torment me and you can't do anything? We need proof. Keep your phone, forward every message. We're building a case. I couldn't stay in the house. At 4 a.m., I found myself at a 24-hour diner, feeling safer around strangers than in my own home. When I returned at sunrise, Daniel was in his front yard, pruning roses. He looked up as I pulled in, waved. I didn't wave back. Over the next week, Chen updated me. They'd found the previous victims. All had similar experiences, feeling watched, hearing sounds, items moved, but none had proof. They just left. You were the first one who actually found the evidence, Chen said. The others never knew the extent of it. That night, another text. You ruined everything, Isabella. Do you know how long I worked on that wall? How careful I was? You destroyed it all. I forwarded it to Chen, called her immediately. He's escalating, she said. Pack a bag. I think you need to leave town. No, I'm not running. Isabella, I want to catch him, I said. I want him in my house so we can arrest him and he can't weasel out of it.
That's incredibly dangerous, Officer Chen said. He's already been in my house, multiple times. He's going to come back, we both know it. His texts are getting more aggressive. After much debate, they agreed, with conditions. Panic button, multiple cameras, officers watching from a distance. I'd hide in the basement with a clear path to escape. We set it up for Friday. I spent 3 days loudly telling everyone I was visiting my parents in Ohio, posted on social media, made sure Daniel could overhear my phone calls. Friday morning, I loaded my car with luggage, hugged my mailman goodbye, and drove away. I circled back an hour later, parked 3 streets over, and snuck back through neighbors' yards. Officer Chen let me in through the back door. Cameras are live, we'll be watching. Backup is 2 minutes away. Anything happens, you run. She left. I went down to the basement with my tablet showing all 6 camp feeds. Now all I had to do was wait. Friday afternoon passed slowly. Evening came. Darkness. At 9:47 p.m., I saw movement on the front camera. Daniel was walking past my house, slowly, looking at the windows. He walked past, came back 10 minutes later, stopped at his property line, staring. At 1 a.m., he emerged from his house, dressed in dark clothes, carrying something. Here we go, I whispered, texting Chen. He's moving. We see him. Stay hidden.
Daniel went around to the side, to the laundry room window. He pulled out tools, worked quietly, efficiently. The window opened. He climbed through. He was inside my house. I watched the tablet screen, barely breathing. Daniel stood in the laundry room, listening, then moved into the kitchen. He knew the layout perfectly. In the living room, he pulled out a camera, started taking photos of my empty space, the couch, the bookshelf, my coffee table. Then he moved to the stairs. He's heading to the bedroom, I texted Chen. Officers are in position. Say the word. Daniel climbed slowly. I watched on the bedroom camera as he entered. He stood in the doorway, looking at my bed. Then he walked to it and lay down, positioned himself where I usually slept. He took a selfie. I almost threw up. Then he went to my dresser, opened drawers, photographed my clothes, my personal items. Now, I texted Chen. Get him now. Sirens approached. Daniel's head snapped up. He saw the police cars through the window. For a moment, he froze. Then rage crossed his face. He ran to the bedroom wall where his spy hole had been, started hitting it, punching it with his fists, screaming, "Police! Daniel Robertson, freeze!" Officers burst through. Get on the ground, now. Daniel turned to face them, knuckles bloody, face twisted. She's mine. This is my house, my project. I made her interesting. They tackled him, put him in handcuffs. Officer Chen came down to get me. It's over. We got him. As they loaded Daniel into the police car, he looked directly at me. This isn't over, Isabella. You'll never feel safe again. Never.
The trial took 6 months to start. Daniel Robertson was charged with breaking and entering, stalking, criminal invasion of privacy, and unlawful surveillance, similar charges related to the previous victims. His lawyer argued mental illness, that he needed treatment, not prison. The prosecutor painted him as a calculated predator who'd spent a decade terrorizing women. I had to testify, had to sit in that courtroom with Daniel staring at me from the defense table. His eyes never left my face. Even when evidence was presented, the photos, the notebooks, the spy holes, he just stared at me. The previous victims testified too. Jennifer Adams broke down on the stand, describing how she'd fled in the middle of the night, too terrified to pack. Rachel Kim told how she'd caught him in her house, but he'd talked his way out. Sarah Williams cried as she described finding her cat gone. He told me later, after I moved out, that he'd taken care of the problem, Sarah testified. I didn't know what he meant until police found Whiskers 3 years later. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back, the foreman stood. On the count of breaking and entering, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of stalking, we find the defendant guilty. On the count of criminal invasion of privacy, we find the defendant guilty. Guilty, 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 on every count. Daniel's face remained blank, but his hands, cuffed in his lap, clenched into fists. At sentencing, the judge gave him 15 years. Mr. Robertson, you have shown a complete disregard for the safety and dignity of multiple women. You turned their homes into prisons of fear. This court shows you the same mercy you showed them. None. 15 years. He'd be 60 when he got out. But as they led him away, he turned back one last time, looked directly at me, mouthed 2 words. I'll wait. I sold the house 3 months after the trial. Took a loss on it, didn't care. I couldn't live there anymore. Every room held memories of violation. I moved across the city to an apartment on the 4th floor of a secure building. Doorman, cameras, keycard access. No neighbors with direct access to my walls. I started therapy. Dr. Sarah Mitchell specialized in trauma. Twice a week, I sat in her office and tried to process what had happened. You're experiencing hypervigilance, she told me. It's a normal response to what you went through. Your brain is trying to protect you by staying alert to threats. I check my locks 8 times before bed, I said. I can't sleep in the dark. I wake up at 2:17 every single night, expecting to hear scratching. Have you heard any scratching in the new apartment? No, but I still hear it. In my head. It never stops. Dr. Mitchell leaned forward. Isabella, you survived something traumatic. You were strong enough to fight back, to catch him. But now you need to be strong enough to heal. That's harder, but just as important. I nodded, but I didn't believe her. How do you heal from knowing someone watched you sleep? Someone documented your every move. Someone considered you their project, their possession. My friends from Ohio visited. They tried to be supportive, but I could see it in their eyes. They didn't really understand. How could they? They'd never felt that level of violation. Work was difficult. I'd taken a leave of absence during the trial, and coming back was harder than I expected. My coworkers knew what happened. It had been in the news. They were kind but awkward, not knowing what to say.
If you need anything, they'd start. I'm fine. I'd lie. But I wasn't fine. I was broken, and I didn't know how to fix myself. 6 months after the trial, I got a letter, prison mail, from Daniel. My hand shook as I opened it. Dr. Mitchell had warned me he might try to contact me, that some stalkers continue their obsession from prison. Dear Isabella, it began in that careful handwriting I recognized from the photos. I hope this letter finds you well. I've had a lot of time to think about what happened, about the mistakes I made. My therapist here says I need to take accountability for my actions. I'm sorry for frightening you. That was never my intention. I only wanted to observe, to document something beautiful. You have to understand, you're special, Isabella. The way you move, the way you sleep, the particular way you brush your hair before bed. It's art. I was creating art. But I see now that you didn't understand. You felt violated instead of honored. I'm sorry for that misunderstanding. I think about you every day, wonder what you're doing, where you're living. I hope you're sleeping better now. Do you still wake at 2:17? I do. That's our time, Isabella. It always will be. I have 13 and a half years left. I'm a model prisoner. I might get out early for good behavior. 8 years, maybe 9. I'll be younger than you think when I'm free. And when I am, I'd like to apologize in person. Until then, sleep well. Yours always, Daniel. I dropped the letter like it was on fire, called Officer Chen immediately. He's not supposed to contact you, she said. That violates the restraining order. Can you do anything about it? We can file a report, but he's already in prison. There's not much more punishment we can add. But Isabella, don't respond. Don't engage. That's what he wants. I threw the letter away, but his words echoed in my mind. 8 years, maybe 9. He'd be 53. Still young enough. Still obsessed. I'd never truly be free of him.
I took a self-defense class, then another and another. Krav Maga, boxing, jiu-jitsu. I trained 5 days a week. My instructor, Rita, was a former Marine. She didn't ask why I was there. She just taught me how to break a nose, how to escape a chokehold, how to turn fear into action. The most important thing, Rita told the class, is the will to fight. Technique matters, but mindset matters more. You have to decide you're worth defending. I decided I was worth defending. I also got my concealed carry permit, learned to shoot at a range. I wasn't planning to hurt anyone, but I was never going to be helpless again. Dr. Mitchell worried I was going too far the other direction. There's a difference between being prepared and being consumed by fear. I'm not afraid, I told her. I'm ready. Ready for what? For when he gets out. Isabella, he's in prison for 15 years. He said 8 or 9 with good behavior. You didn't see his face in that courtroom. You didn't read his letter. He's not done with me. He's just waiting. Dr. Mitchell sighed. Even if he does get out early, he'll be monitored. There's a restraining order. He can't come near you. Restraining orders are just paper. They didn't stop him before. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being realistic. Daniel had shown me exactly who he was. I'd be a fool not to believe him. So I trained, I prepared, and I waited. Despite everything, I tried to move forward. I met someone, Alex, a software engineer I met at a coffee shop. He was kind, funny, patient with my neuroses. On our 3rd date, I told him what happened. All of it. I needed him to understand why I was the way I was. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he reached across the table and took my hand. That's terrifying, he said. I can't imagine going through that. But I want you to know, it doesn't change how I see you. You're not broken, Isabella. You're a survivor. I wanted to believe him. We dated for 6 months. He never pressured me, never made me feel unsafe. He understood why I needed to check locks, why I woke up at 2:17 a.m., why I couldn't sleep in complete darkness. But I couldn't fully let him in. Part of me was still in that house on Maple Street, still hearing the scratching, still feeling Daniel's eyes on me. Alex deserved better than someone who was half present, half haunted. I broke up with him gently. It's not you, I said. It's that I'm not ready. I don't know if I'll ever be ready. He hugged me. You will be, when you meet the right person, when you're healed enough to trust again. It just wasn't the right time for us.
After he left, I cried. Not for losing him, but for losing the person I used to be. The Isabella who could trust easily, who could sleep peacefully, who didn't see threats in every shadow. Daniel had taken that from me, and I hated him for it.
Year 2. Another letter arrived. Dear Isabella, happy anniversary. 2 years ago today, you moved into 47 Maple Street. Do you remember? I do. I remember everything. What you wore, a blue t-shirt and jeans, how you laughed when the movers dropped your couch, the way you looked at the house like it was a fresh start. I made it special for you. Those weren't just photos, Isabella. They were memories, our memories. Moments frozen in time when you were most yourself, vulnerable, peaceful, beautiful. I heard through my lawyer that you sold the house. That hurt. That was our place, where we connected, where I could be close to you. Where are you living now? I hope somewhere safe, somewhere I can find when I get out. 11 more years, but who's counting? Think of me at 217. Always yours, Daniel. This time, I didn't panic. I documented it, sent it to Officer Chen, filed the report. Then I threw it away and went to the gym. Rita had me work the heavy bag. I imagined Daniel's face with every punch. You're getting stronger, Rita observed. I have to be. Why? Because he's coming back, eventually. And when he does, I need to be ready. Rita studied me for a moment. You know what the best self-defense is? What? Not being there when danger shows up. You don't have to fight him, Isabella. You can just disappear. Run away? Strategically relocate. There's no shame in it. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is remove yourself from a bad situation. I thought about it. I could move, change my name, start over somewhere Daniel could never find me. But that felt like letting him win, like letting him dictate my life. I'm not running, I said, hitting the bag again. This is my city, my life. I'm not giving him that power. Rita shrugged. Your choice. Just make sure it's the right one. Dr. Mitchell suggested I joined a support group for stalking victims. I resisted at first, but eventually agreed. The group met every Tuesday evening in a community center basement. 8 women, 1 man, all with similar stories. Names changed, details varied, but the core was the same. Someone had decided they had the right to invade our lives. There was Maria, whose ex-boyfriend tracked her phone and showed up everywhere she went. Jennifer, whose coworker installed spyware on her computer. Tom, whose neighbor followed him for months before escalating to break-ins. And then there was Claire. Claire was 42, a teacher, and she'd been stalked by a former student's father. He'd been obsessed with her for 3 years, took photos, sent letters, showed up at her school and home. The police did nothing. He was a respected businessman. She was overreacting. Then one day, he broke into her house while she was there. He said he just wanted to talk, Claire told us, her voice flat, that if I just listened, I'd understand how much he loved me. But I saw it in his eyes. He wasn't there to talk. He was there to punish me for not loving him back. What happened? Maria asked softly. I killed him, Claire said simply. I had a gun. He came at me. I shot him. 3 times. The room went silent. They ruled it self-defense. Took 8 months, but they cleared me. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I still see his face every night. I still hear the sound of the shots. I survived, but I'm not free. I'll never be free. After the meeting, I approached Claire. I'm sorry for what you went through. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much. You're the one with Daniel Robertson, aren't you? I saw your story on the news. I nodded. He's going to get out someday, Claire said. And when he does, he's coming for you. You know that, right? Yes. So what are you going to do about it? I don't know. Claire handed me her number. When you figure it out, call me. I might be able to help. The 3rd anniversary passed. Another letter from Daniel. I didn't read it, just forwarded it to Officer Chen and threw it away. I was doing better. Therapy was helping. The support group was helping. I was sleeping more,
having fewer nightmares. I'd even started dating again, nothing serious, but it was progress. Work was good. I'd been promoted to senior analyst, was considering buying a new place, something that felt truly mine. Life was moving forward. Then Officer Chen called. "Isabella, I need to tell you something. Daniel Robertson's parole hearing has been moved up." My blood went cold. "What? Why?" "Overcrowding, budget cuts. They're reviewing nonviolent offenders for early release. He's been a model prisoner, completed all his rehabilitation programs. There's a chance he could get out in as little as 6 months." 6 months? He's supposed to have 9 more years. "I know. I'm sorry. But there's nothing we can do to stop the hearing. However, you have the right to make a victim impact statement. I strongly encourage you to do so." 6 months? After only 5 years served? After what he did to me, to Jennifer, to Rachel, to Sarah? 5 years for a decade of terrorizing women? It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. That night, I called Claire. "He's getting a parole hearing," I told her. 6 months, maybe. She was quiet for a... Terrified. "Good. Fear keeps you sharp, but don't let it paralyze you. What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Make a statement at the hearing. Hope they deny parole." "And if they don't?" I didn't have an answer. "Isabella," Claire said gently, "I'm going to tell you something nobody else will. If he gets out, if he comes for you, you have every right to defend yourself. Do you understand what I'm saying?" "Yes." "I hope you never have to make the choice I made, but if you do, don't hesitate. Your life is worth more than his obsession." The hearing was on a cold November morning. I walked into that room with Officer Chen beside me, my victim impact statement clutched in my hand. Daniel sat at a table with his lawyer and a parole officer. He'd gained weight in prison, looked older, but his eyes were exactly the same, focused, intense, fixed on me. The parole board consisted of 3 people, 2 men and a woman. They reviewed Daniel's file, his behavior reports, his rehabilitation records. "Mr. Robertson has completed anger management, therapy, and several educational programs," one board member noted. "He's had no disciplinary incidents in 5 years." Then it was my turn to speak. I stood, hands shaking, and read my statement. "Daniel Robertson stole my sense of safety. He turned my home into a nightmare. He violated me in the most intimate way possible, watching me sleep, documenting my private moments, treating me like I was his property instead of a person. But it wasn't just me. He did this to Jennifer Adams, who fled her home with nothing, to Rachel Kim, who blamed herself for years, to Sarah Williams, whose cat he killed as punishment for her rejecting his attention. Daniel Robertson is not rehabilitated. He's not sorry. He's just biding his time. His letters to me prove that. He still believes he had the right to do what he did. He still sees me as his. If you release him, he will hurt someone again. Maybe me. Maybe the next woman who moves into a house near him. But he will hurt someone, because that's who he is. I'm asking you, begging you, to keep him in prison. For my safety. For the safety of every woman who deserves to feel secure in her own home." I sat down, shaking. Daniel's lawyer stood up. "My client has expressed deep remorse for his actions. He's participated in extensive therapy and acknowledges his behavior was wrong. He's prepared to live a productive life and has a job lined up with a friend's company." Then Daniel spoke. "I'm sorry for what I did. I was sick, but I've gotten help. I'm not that person anymore." He looked directly at me. "Isabella, I'm truly sorry. I hope someday you can forgive me." His words sounded sincere. His eyes told a different story. The board deliberated for 30 minutes. When they returned, the chairwoman spoke. "Mr. Robertson, this board has carefully considered your case. While your behavior in prison has been exemplary, the severity of your crimes and the pattern of targeting multiple victims gives us serious concern. Parole is denied. We'll reconsider in 3 years." I nearly collapsed with relief. 3 more years. At least 3 more years of safety. As we left, Daniel called out, "I'll see you soon, Isabella. 3 years goes fast." Officer Chen grabbed my arm. "Don't respond. Let's go." Outside, I finally breathed. 3 years. I had 3 years to prepare.
After the hearing, something changed in me. The fear was still there, but it transformed into determination. I couldn't spend the rest of my life waiting for Daniel to get out, waiting to be a victim again. I needed to take control. I started volunteering with a domestic violence shelter, helping women escape dangerous situations. I used my experience to teach self-defense classes at the community center. I became an advocate for stronger stalking laws. My therapist, Dr. Mitchell, noticed the change. You seem different, stronger. I decided to stop being afraid and start being prepared, I told her, and to help others who are going through what I went through. That's healthy, as long as you're not avoiding your own healing. I'm not avoiding anything. I'm just choosing to do something productive with what happened to me, turn the nightmare into something that helps people. I met others like me through my advocacy work, survivors who decided to fight back, not just against their abusers, but against the system that often failed to protect them. Together, we pushed for legislation, better protections for stalking victims, stricter parole requirements, mandatory GPS monitoring for certain offenders. It wasn't much, but it was something, and doing something felt better than hiding. The 3 years passed faster than I wanted. I'd built a life I was proud of. Good job, close friends, meaningful work helping other victims. I'd even fallen in love with someone who understood my past and didn't try to fix me. James was a detective who'd worked on domestic violence cases. He got it. He understood hypervigilance, understood trauma, understood that some days were harder than others. I don't need you to be perfect, he told me once. I just need you to be honest about where you are. For the first time since Daniel, I felt like I could be myself, scared sometimes, strong other times, but always honest. Then Officer Chen called. He's having another parole hearing next month. My stomach dropped. Already? He served 8 years total. With his behavior record and the overcrowding situation, the board is likely to seriously consider release this time. What are my chances? Chen was quiet. Honestly, it's 50-50. You should prepare yourself. I hung up and stared at my phone. 8 years. He'd served 8 years for terrorizing 4 women, for turning our lives into nightmares. And now he might go free. James found me sitting in the dark. What's wrong? I told him. He sat beside me, took my hand. Whatever happens, you're not alone this time. You're stronger than you were. You have people who'll protect you. And you have me. What if that's not enough? Then we'll figure it out together. But Isabella, you can't live in fear of what might happen. You've built too much to let it take it away again. He was right. I'd worked too hard to rebuild myself. I wouldn't let Daniel destroy that, whether he was behind bars or free. But deep down, I knew the truth. If he got out, he was coming for me. And this time, one of us wouldn't walk away. This hearing was different. The room was more crowded. Advocates, reporters, the other victims. Jennifer, Rachel, and Sarah all came to make statements. Daniel looked different too. Thinner, older, tired. But when his eyes found mine, that same intensity was there. The same obsession. The parole board heard from his therapist, who claimed Daniel had made significant progress. His prison counselor praised his behavior. His lawyer emphasized his age. He was 53 now, statistically low risk for reoffending. Then we spoke. Jennifer described years of therapy, trust issues, how she still couldn't sleep in the dark. Rachel talked about the panic attacks, the failed relationships, the constant feeling of being watched. Sarah's voice broke as she described finding her cat's grave. When it was my turn, I didn't read a prepared statement. I just spoke from my heart. Daniel Robertson has had 8 years to think about what he did, 8 years to reflect, to change. But his letters to me tell a different story. He doesn't see himself as a criminal. He sees himself as an artist, and me as his subject. He still believes he had the right to watch me, to document me, to possess me. People like Daniel don't change. They just get better at hiding. If you release him, you're not giving a rehabilitated man a second chance. You're giving a predator new hunting grounds. The board deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, my heart was pounding. Mr. Robertson, the chairwoman said,
This board recognizes your progress in prison. However, the persistent nature of your letters to Miss Chen, despite multiple warnings, demonstrates continued obsessive behavior. We believe you still pose a risk. Parole is denied. I sagged with relief, but the chairwoman continued. However, we will reconsider in 1 year. We recommend you cease all contact with your victims and focus on addressing the psychological issues underlying your behavior. 1 year. Only 1 more year. Daniel smiled at me as they let him out. 1 year, Isabella, then we'll see.
That year was the longest of my life. I tried to live normally, but Daniel's words haunted me. 1 year, Isabella. Then we'll see. I increased my self-defense training, took tactical firearms courses, made sure my security system was state-of-the-art. James wanted me to move in with him, but I refused. I can't run from this, I told him. If he gets out, he'll find me anywhere. At least here, I'm prepared. The support group noticed my anxiety increasing as the hearing approached. Claire pulled me aside after one meeting. "You're spiraling," she said bluntly. I recognized the signs. I was the same way before my situation resolved. How did you handle it? I made peace with what might have to happen, decided that if it came down to him or me, I'd choose me every single time. No hesitation, no guilt. She looked at me seriously. Have you made that choice yet? I hadn't. The idea of actually having to hurt Daniel, even in self-defense, terrified me. I wasn't Claire. I wasn't a fighter by nature, but I was learning to be. What if I can't? I asked. What if when the moment comes, I freeze? Then you don't survive, Claire said simply. That's the reality. Either you fight or you become another victim. There's no middle ground with men like Daniel. That night, I practiced scenarios with James. What to do if Daniel showed up at my door, at my work, in a parking lot. We ran through every possibility we could think of. You're going to be okay, James kept saying. I won't let anything happen to you. But we both knew he couldn't be with me every moment. Eventually, I'd be alone. And when I was, Daniel might be there. 3 months before the hearing, I made a decision. I wrote a letter, not to Daniel, but to myself. If he comes for you, you fight. You fight with everything you have. Your life is worth defending. You are worth defending. Don't hesitate. Don't freeze. Survive. I sealed it and put it in my nightstand drawer. A reminder. A promise. The hearing room was packed. Media, advocates, curious onlookers. Daniel's case had become famous. The stalker who terrorized women through walls. I sat in the front row between James and Officer Chen. Behind me were Jennifer, Rachel, and Sarah. We'd formed a bond, united by our shared nightmare. Daniel was brought in. 9 years in prison had aged him considerably. Gray hair, lines around his eyes, thinner frame. But when he saw me, he smiled. That same smile from moving day. The one that never reached his eyes. The board reviewed his file. Exemplary behavior, completed programs, therapy sessions, letters of recommendation from prison staff. Then they addressed the letters. Mr. Robertson, you were explicitly told to cease contact with your victims, yet you continue to write to Miss Chen. Can you explain this? Daniel's lawyer stood. My client believed he was exercising his First Amendment right to communicate. He didn't understand that therapeutic letter writing needed to remain private. He since ceased all contact and deeply regrets any distress caused. It was a lie. The letters weren't therapeutic. They were threats dressed as affection, reminders that he was still thinking about me, still obsessed. We gave our statements. Same points as before, but more desperate. This was likely his last hearing before mandatory release. After 9 years, unless they had concrete evidence he'd reoffend, they had to let him go. The board deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the chairwoman looked tired. Mr. Robertson, you've served 9 years of a 15-year sentence. Your behavior has been exemplary. Your rehabilitation appears genuine. However, this board has serious concerns about your continued fixation on Miss Chen. My heart pounded. After careful consideration, we've decided to grant parole with strict conditions. You'll wear a GPS monitor, you're forbidden from entering Miss Chen's neighborhood, you must continue therapy. Any violation results in immediate return to prison. No, no, no. Parole granted. You'll be released in 30 days. The room erupted. Reporters shouting questions. Victims crying. James grabbing my hand.
but all I could see was Daniel, turning to look at me, mouthing 2 words, "Soon, Isabella."
The 30 days before Daniel's release were a blur of preparation. James wanted me to leave the state. Officer Chen suggested witness protection. My friends begged me to disappear. I refused. I'd built a life here. Friends, career, purpose. I wouldn't let Daniel take that from me. Instead, I prepared, enhanced my security system, cameras everywhere, panic buttons in every room, reinforced locks, bulletproof windows on the first floor. James stayed over most nights. I varied my routine, took different routes to work, parked in different spots. Claire called regularly. Remember what I told you, when the moment comes, don't hesitate. The support group rallied around me. Maria offered to let me stay with her. Tom taught me escape and evasion techniques he'd learned in the military. Everyone was trying to help, but we all knew the truth. When Daniel came for me, and he would, I'd likely be alone. I spent hours at the shooting range. My instructor, a retired cop named Frank, helped me practice stress scenarios. It's different when it's real, he warned. Your hands shake, your vision tunnels, time slows down or speeds up. You need to be so trained that it's automatic. I practiced until shooting became muscle memory. Draw, aim, fire. Draw, aim, fire. Until I could do it in my sleep. 10 days before release, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Isabella. Daniel's voice. He'd found a way to call from prison. I hung up immediately, called Officer Chen. He's not supposed to have access to phones, she said, frustrated. I'll file a report, but there's not much we can do. He's getting out anyway. That night, I barely slept. At 2:17 a.m., I woke up, expecting to hear scratching. Instead, I heard my phone buzz, a text from an unknown number. 7 days, Isabella. Are you ready? The day Daniel was released, I took off work, stayed home with James, doors locked, system armed. Officer Chen called to confirm. Daniel had been released at 9 a.m., fitted with a GPS monitor, given his conditions. He's required to check in with his parole officer daily, she said. He's living in a halfway house on the north side, nowhere near you. For now, I said. We're watching him, Isabella. Any violation, he goes right back. But we both knew GPS monitors could be cut, rules could be broken, and Daniel had spent 9 years planning what he'd do when he got out. That night, James made dinner. We tried to act normal, but every sound made us jump. Every car passing outside had us checking the cameras. Maybe we should go somewhere, James said. Take a vacation. Give him time to settle into his new life. Realize you're not accessible. He's never going to realize that. You saw his face at the hearing. He thinks this is romantic, like we're star-crossed lovers kept apart by an unjust system. Then let me move in, full-time, so you're never alone. I wanted to say yes, but I also knew Daniel would wait. Days, weeks, months. He'd wait until James wasn't there, until I let my guard down. Then he'd make his move. 2 weeks, I compromised. Stay for 2 weeks. If nothing happens, we'll reassess. James agreed, though I could see he wanted to argue. We went to bed early. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound. At 2:17 a.m., I checked the cameras for the 100th time. Nothing, just empty streets and shadows. But I knew Daniel was out there somewhere, thinking about me, planning, waiting for his moment. And when it came, I'd be ready. The first week passed without incident. Daniel checked in with his parole officer daily. His GPS showed he stayed in his designated area: work, halfway house, therapy. He was following the rules. I should have been relieved. Instead, I was more nervous. This wasn't the Daniel I knew. The Daniel who'd stalked me for months, who'd drilled holes in my walls, who'd broken into my house repeatedly. This compliance felt like strategy, like he was lulling everyone into a false sense of security. Officer Chen called with updates. He's being a model parolee. His employer says he's reliable and professional. His therapist reports good progress. It's an act, I insisted. Maybe, or maybe 9 years in prison really did change him. It happens, Isabella. But I'd read his letters. I'd seen his eyes at the hearing. Daniel Robertson hadn't changed. He'd just gotten better at pretending. On day 8, something happened.
I was leaving work, walking to my car in the parking garage. I felt it, that prickling sensation on the back of my neck. Someone watching. I spun around. Nobody there. Just rows of cars and concrete pillars. But I knew someone had been there. I could feel it. I called James. Someone was following me. Are you sure? I'm sure. He met me at my car, insisted on following me home. We checked the cameras. Nothing. No sign of anyone following us. Maybe you're just stressed, James suggested gently. Hypervigilant. Maybe. Or maybe Daniel was testing me, seeing if I'd notice, measuring my awareness. That night I barely slept, and at 2:17 a.m. my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Nice car. Same one from Maple Street? You should park in better lit areas. D. He'd been there, in that parking garage, watching me. I forwarded the text to Officer Chen, called immediately. We'll check his GPS, she said, see where he was. 20 minutes later, she called back. His GPS shows he was at the halfway house all evening. He couldn't have been at your work. Then he cut the monitor. If he did, we'd know. These things alert immediately if tampered with. Then how did he send me that text? How did he know about my car? Chen was quiet. I don't know, but I'll increase patrols near your place. And Isabella, maybe it's time to consider that protection program. Get you somewhere he can't find you. I'm not running. Then be very, very careful.
Over the next week, more texts came, always from different numbers, always at 2:17 a.m. You looked tired today. Are you sleeping okay? I see you've made friends. James seems nice. Does he know about us? Maple Street is for sale again. Thinking of buying it, for old time's sake. Each message was forwarded to Officer Chen. Each time, Daniel's GPS showed him at the halfway house. Each time, there was no way to prove he'd sent them. He's using someone else, I told Chen. Someone's helping him. We're investigating, but without proof, there's nothing we can do. I was being tortured by a ghost. Someone who could see me, but couldn't be seen. Someone who could reach me, but couldn't be reached. James wanted to hire private security. I refused. I wouldn't live in a prison of my own making. Instead, I got smarter about my routines, varied everything, changed routes daily, checked for tails constantly. The support group was worried about me, Claire especially. You look exhausted, she said after a meeting. He's winning, Isabella. He's in your head. He's always been in my head. Then get him out. Fight back. How? I can't prove he's doing anything. He's following every rule, but somehow he's still watching me. Claire leaned in close. Then stop playing defense. Start playing offense. Make him show himself. What do you mean? Give him what he wants. Make him think he has an opening. Then be ready when he takes it. It was dangerous, potentially stupid, but I was tired of being hunted, tired of jumping at shadows, tired of living in fear. What do you suggest? Claire smiled grimly. Bait the trap. See if the rat comes out. We planned carefully. James hated the idea, but I convinced him it was the only way. I'll post on social media that I'm going out of town for a weekend, I explained. Make it public, make sure Daniel sees it, but I'll actually be home, waiting. And if he shows up, then we finally have proof. We catch him violating parole, and he goes back to prison. And if he does more than just show up, what if he comes to hurt you? I touched the gun in my holster. Then I defend myself. Officer Chen agreed to the plan reluctantly. We'll have units nearby, but not so close that he spots them. You'll have a panic button. Any sign of trouble, you press it. I spent a week building up to it, posted about needing a vacation, complained about stress at work, finally announced I'd rented a cabin upstate for a long weekend. Friday afternoon, I made a show of loading my car with luggage, waved to neighbors, drove away. Then I circled back, parked several streets over, and snuck home through backyards, just like before when we'd caught Daniel the first time. James wanted to stay, but I refused. He won't come if he thinks I'm not alone. This only works if he believes I'm vulnerable. I don't like this. I don't either, but I'm tired of being scared. This ends tonight, one way or another. He kissed me, reluctantly left. I locked the doors behind him and settled in to wait. The house was dark except for one lamp in the living room, on a timer. The cameras were recording. My phone was charged, panic button ready. I sat in my bedroom with my gun, waiting. Hours passed. Sunset came. Darkness fell. At 2:17 a.m., I heard it. The laundry room window.
the same one Daniel had used before. He was here.
I watched the camera feed on my phone. Daniel was inside, moving through my house, just like before. Confident, familiar. This was his territory. He went to the kitchen first, stood there, looking around, then to the living room. He took photos of everything, just like before. My hand tightened on my gun. He climbed the stairs. I could hear his footsteps, slow and deliberate. He was taking his time, savoring it. The bedroom door opened. Daniel stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the hallway light. I turned on the lamp. He saw me sitting there, gun pointed at him, and smiled. "Hello, Isabella. Don't move. I've called the police. They're on their way." "No, you haven't. You want to talk to me first. You've wanted to talk to me for 9 years." He was right. I hadn't pressed the panic button yet, because there were things I needed to say, needed to know. "Why?" I asked. "Why me? Why any of us?" Daniel sat on the edge of my bed, casual, like we were old friends. "You really want to know?" "Yes. Because you were perfect. All of you. Living alone, independent, beautiful. You needed to be preserved, documented, remembered. We're not objects, we're people. I know that. But people are temporary. Moments pass. I was making you permanent, giving you immortality through my work." "Your work? You're a stalker, Daniel, a criminal." His expression hardened. "I'm an artist. Society just doesn't understand. But someday they will. Someday they'll see what I created and recognize its value." He was insane. Truly, deeply insane. And he was sitting on my bed like he belonged there. "You need to leave. Now. The police are actually on their way." "No, they're not. You're alone, Isabella. Just like you've always been. Just like I've always wanted you to be." He stood up. 9 years I waited for this moment. 9 years of thinking about you, planning our reunion. You're mine, Isabella. You always were. He took a step toward me. I chambered around. The sound was deafening in the quiet room. "Stop. I will shoot you." "No, you won't. You're not like Claire. You're gentle, kind. That's why I chose you." Another step. "Daniel, stop. Please. We belong together, Isabella. Can't you see that? All of this. The house. The photos. The waiting. It's all been leading to this moment." He reached for me. I pulled the trigger. The sound was deafening. Daniel stumbled backward, shocked. The bullet hit his shoulder, spinning him around. He fell, hit the floor hard. I was shaking so badly I almost dropped the gun. Through blurred vision, I saw blood spreading across my floor. Daniel was moving, trying to get up. I pressed the panic button. Then I aimed again, keeping the gun on him. "Don't move. Stay down." "You shot me," he said, almost surprised. "You actually shot me." "I warned you. I told you to stop." "But I loved you. I love you." "That's not love. Love doesn't terrify people. Love doesn't violate them." Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Daniel tried to stand. "We could have been perfect together if you just understood. Stay down." He collapsed again, too weak to rise. The blood was pooling beneath him. I should have felt something. Guilt, horror, regret. But all I felt was relief. He was finally stopped. Police burst through my door, dropped the weapon, put it down. I carefully placed the gun on my nightstand, hands up. He broke in. I shot him in self-defense. It's all on camera.
Officers swarmed the room. Paramedics rushed to Daniel. Officer Chen appeared, taking in the scene. "Are you hurt?" she asked me. "No, but he is." "Good," she said quietly. "You did what you had to do." As they loaded Daniel onto a stretcher, he looked at me one last time. "This isn't over, Isabella." But he was wrong. It was over. Finally, completely over. "Yes, it is," I told him. "Goodbye, Daniel." They took him away. I watched through my window as the ambulance drove off, lights flashing. James arrived minutes later, having heard about the shooting on his police scanner. He held me while I shook, while the adrenaline wore off, while the reality of what I'd done set in. "You're safe now," he kept saying. "It's over. You're safe." And for the first time in 9 years, I believed it.
The investigation took weeks. They reviewed the camera footage, Daniel's GPS records, which showed him at the halfway house. He definitely cut the monitor. The texts, everything. It was ruled a clear case of self-defense. Daniel had violated parole, broken into my home, and advanced on me despite warnings. I'd had every right to defend myself. He survived the gunshot. The bullet had missed major arteries. But his parole was revoked, and new charges were filed. Parole violation, breaking and entering, stalking. This time, he was looking at 20 years minimum. "He won't get out again," Officer Chen promised. "Not with this on his record. He'll be an old man before he sees the outside of a prison cell." The media had a field day with the story. Stalking victim fights back. The woman who stopped her stalker. I gave one interview to help other victims understand they had the right to defend themselves. "I didn't want to shoot him," I told the reporter, "but he gave me no choice, and I'd do it again if I had to. My life is worth defending." The support group threw me a celebration. It felt strange, celebrating violence, but Claire understood. "You did what I did," she said, "made the choice to survive. There's no shame in that." But there was trauma. I started having new nightmares, not of Daniel watching me, but of pulling that trigger, seeing him fall, the blood, the sound. Dr. Mitchell helped me work through it. You're experiencing a normal response to a traumatic event. Taking a life, even in self-defense, even when justified, affects us. It means you're human. Will I ever stop seeing it? Probably not, but it will get easier, and you'll integrate it into your story, not as the worst thing that happened to you, but as the moment you saved yourself. 6 months after the shooting, I started to feel like myself again. Not the person I was before Daniel, but someone new, someone stronger. James and I moved in together, a new place, neither his nor mine, somewhere without memories. We adopted a dog, a German Shepherd named Luna, who barked at everything. Between Luna and our security system, I finally felt safe. I continued my advocacy work, now with an added platform. Survivors reached out, asking how I'd found the courage to fight back. I told them the truth. Courage came from deciding I was worth fighting for. We spend so much time trying to be nice, to not make waves, to give people the benefit of the doubt, I told them. But when someone threatens your life, your safety, your humanity, you have the right to defend it, violently if necessary. I also started teaching self-defense classes, specifically for stalking victims, teaching them what I'd learned: awareness, preparation, and the will to survive. Claire came to one of my classes. Afterward, she pulled me aside. "You've changed," she observed. "You're not that scared woman anymore." No, I'm not. Daniel tried to break me. Instead, he made me stronger. That's the best revenge, Claire said, living well, being happy, showing him he didn't win. She was right. Daniel was in prison, but I was free, truly free for the first time since I'd moved into 47 Maple Street. I visited the house once, just to see it. New owners had moved in, a family with 2 kids. The husband was friendly, showed me around when I explained my history there. "Has anything strange happened?" I asked. "Any scratching sounds?" He laughed. "Nothing like that, though we did find something weird when we were renovating. Want to see?" He led me to the bedroom. The wall where Daniel's spy hole had been was gone, replaced with new drywall. But before they'd sealed it, they'd found something. There were hundreds of photos in there, he said, all of the same woman. We gave them to the police. Were they yours? Yes, they were evidence in a case. Well, it's all gone now.
We gutted the whole wall, made sure nothing else was hidden. This is a fresh start for the house and for whoever lives here. A fresh start. I liked that.
A year after the shooting, I got another letter. Prison mail. For a moment, my heart raced. Had Daniel found a way to contact me again? But it wasn't from Daniel. It was from one of his previous victims, Sarah Williams, the one whose cat he'd killed. Dear Isabella, I heard what you did, how you fought back when Daniel broke into your home. I wanted to write and tell you how incredibly brave I think you are. When Daniel was stalking me, I felt so powerless. I reported it, but nothing happened. He was always just careful enough to avoid serious trouble, and I was too scared to confront him, too worried about what he might do if I pushed back. When he killed Whiskers, I should have done something, should have pushed for charges, should have fought harder. Instead, I ran, moved across the country and tried to forget it ever happened. But I never forgot. I've thought about him every day for the last 10 years, wondered if he was still out there, still hurting women, felt guilty that I didn't stop him when I had the chance. You did what I couldn't. You stood your ground. You ended his ability to hurt anyone else. I know it cost you. Trauma, nightmares, the weight of taking that action. But I want you to know it mattered. You saved other women from going through what we went through. Thank you. Thank you for being strong enough to fight back. I'm in therapy now, finally dealing with what happened to me. Your story inspired me to stop running and start healing. If you're ever in Seattle, I'd love to meet you for coffee. I think it would help both of us. With gratitude, Sarah. I cried reading that letter. Cried for Sarah, for Jennifer, for Rachel, for all the women Daniel had hurt. And I cried for myself, for the girl who'd moved into 47 Maple Street with such hope, only to have it shattered by a monster next door. But I also felt something else. Pride. I had survived. More than that, I'd stopped him. He'd never hurt anyone again. I wrote Sarah back, thanking her for her kind words and telling her I'd love to meet if I was ever in Seattle. Then I filed the letter away with the others, evidence not just of Daniel's crimes, but of our survival. 2 years after the shooting, James proposed. We were hiking in the mountains, Luna bounding ahead on the trail, when he stopped at a scenic overlook. Isabella Chen, he said, getting down on one knee, you're the strongest person I've ever met. You've been through hell and came out the other side not just intact, but thriving. I want to spend the rest of my life watching you be amazing. Will you marry me? I said yes, crying and laughing at the same time. We got married 6 months later in a small ceremony with close friends and family. The support group attended: Claire, Maria, Tom, and several others. They'd become more than just fellow victims. They were family. To new beginnings, Claire toasted at the reception. To surviving, thriving, and never letting the monsters win. To new beginnings, we all echoed. My biological family was there too. My parents who'd flown in from Ohio, my sister who'd driven down from Boston. They'd supported me through everything, even when they didn't fully understand. I'm proud of you, my mother said, hugging me tight. So proud. You took something terrible and turned it into strength. That's not easy. I learned from you, I told her. You never gave up on me, even when I was at my lowest. That meant everything. The wedding was perfect. No mention of Daniel, no shadows from the past, just joy and love and hope for the future. That night, lying in bed next to my husband, I realized something profound. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Daniel Robertson, wasn't waiting for 2:17 a.m., wasn't listening for scratching in the walls. I was just happy. What are you smiling about? James asked. I just realized he doesn't live in my head anymore. For the first time since this all started, I'm not afraid. James kissed my forehead. You earned that peace. You fought for it. And I had, through therapy, through training, through confronting my worst nightmare and coming out the other side. I had reclaimed my life from the man who tried to steal it. The next morning, we left for our honeymoon. As we drove away, I looked back at our house one last time. Our home, our safe place, the life I'd built despite everything. Daniel Robertson had tried to make me his possession, his project, his victim. Instead, he'd made me a survivor, and that was something he could never take away. 3 years after the shooting, I got a call from Officer Chen. My stomach dropped. Calls from her were never good news. Isabella,
I wanted you to hear this from me. Daniel died yesterday. I sat down heavily. What happened? Prison fight. Another inmate attacked him. By the time guards intervened, it was too late. I waited for the emotion to hit. Relief, maybe? Or sadness? Or guilt? But all I felt was empty. How do you feel? Chen asked gently. I don't know. I thought I'd feel something more. Is that wrong? No. You already processed what Daniel did to you. His death doesn't change any of that. You've been free of him for years now. This is just making that official. After we hung up, I told James. He held me while I tried to figure out what I was feeling. You're allowed to be relieved, he said. You're allowed to feel nothing. You're allowed to feel however you feel. Eventually, I realized what I was feeling. Closure. The door that had been cracked open for years, the possibility that Daniel might somehow, someday get out and come for me again, was finally definitively closed. He couldn't hurt me anymore. Couldn't hurt anyone anymore. I called the other victims. Jennifer cried with relief. Rachel said she could finally close that chapter of her life. Sarah thanked me again for stopping him before he could hurt more women. That night, I slept through until morning. No waking at 2:17 a.m., no phantom scratching sounds, no nightmares about eyes watching me from holes in the wall. For the first time in 4 years, I slept peacefully through the night. The next day, I went to Dr. Mitchell's office for what would be one of our last sessions. I'd been tapering down, once a week, then every other week, now once a month. How are you processing Daniel's death? She asked. I think I already grieved what he took from me, I said. His death doesn't bring any of that back, but it does give me permission to fully move on. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. You've done the work, Isabella. You've healed. His death is just confirmation that the threat is truly over. I keep waiting to feel guilty, like I should be sad that a human being died. He made choices that led to his death, choosing violence, choosing to violate parole, choosing to break into your home. You defended yourself. His subsequent death in prison was a consequence of his own actions, not yours. I nodded, feeling the truth of her words settle into my bones. I think, I said slowly, I'm ready to stop therapy. Not forever, but for now. I feel whole again, different than before, but whole. Dr. Mitchell smiled. I think you're right, but my door is always open if you need it. We hugged goodbye, and I walked out of her office into bright sunshine. Luna was waiting in the car, tail wagging. James had the day off, and we were going to the beach. As I drove, I thought about the woman I'd been when this all started. Young, naive, trusting. She died in that house on Maple Street, killed by the scratching in the walls and the eyes watching from the darkness. But someone new had been born from that death. Someone stronger, wiser, less willing to accept violation as the price of being polite. Someone who knew her own worth and would defend it with everything she had. I wasn't that scared girl anymore. I was a survivor, an advocate, a teacher, a wife. I was someone who'd faced her worst nightmare and won. Daniel Robertson had tried to make me his victim. Instead, he'd made me his opposite, someone who would never let anyone take her power again. And that, I realized, was the best possible ending to this nightmare. Not his death, but my rebirth. Not his punishment, but my freedom. The scratching in the walls had finally stopped, and I could live again.